expected points, clean sheet odds, and who is the best captain. This video has got all of the information you need to know ahead of game week 37. All right, just before I get into the content itself, just wanted to go over a few, ground rules for how this Ultimate Guide video series works. So we've got expected points data for every position for game week 37 in isolation. So just looking at game week 37. And then, well, there's only 2 game weeks left of the season. Usually I show like a 5 game week view of projected points, but we've only got 2 game weeks left. So I've got game week 37 and 38. So you can see who the best players are for literally the rest of the season. Got each position. So we've got goalkeepers here, game week 37 in isolation, and Pickford is number 1 with Southampton. Raya 2nd, Alisson 3rd, Henderson 4th, Sells 5th, and Flecken 6th. I think Pickford is probably the best goalkeeper, right? At the time of recording this video, Arsenal are currently 2-0 down to Liverpool at Anfield. I'm not hugely optimistic as to their chances of a clean sheet against Newcastle. So whilst Raya is, he's up there for expected points, not all that sure how likely he is to keep a clean sheet. Liverpool, they've got Brighton. I think that's a pretty good fixture, to be fair. Crystal Palace against Wolves could get one. Nottingham Forest, they have retracted. I think they've fallen off a little bit of Forest, and particularly with Murillo being injured too, when I don't know quite how serious that injury is, I have a feeling it could be out for the rest of the season. Yeah, I think that hampers Forest a little bit. So Sells is up there, but I'm not sure if they keep a clean sheet against who have they got. They got West Ham, and then Flecken is up there as well. So these are your top keepers for 37. And then for the rest of the season, the final 2 game weeks, a lot of names that you've already seen, basically. Raya is number 1. Obviously, that Newcastle fixture's there. But then they've got Southampton in 38. Alisson 2, Pickford in 3, Flecken 4, Sanchez 6th, Areola of West Ham, who's just kept a clean sheet, by the way, against Man United, which I'm very pleased with because he was in my team. Areola's in 6th. Defenders then, and the top defender for game week 37 is Munoz of Crystal Palace. They've got the FA Cup final, haven't they? So I'm a little bit unsure as to exactly the minutes that these Crystal Palace players are going to get. If they do get minutes, I think that Wolves fixture is really good. But I do expect Palace maybe to rotate a little bit. But I think Munoz has been so good for them in that position. Surely he's got to play every game that he's fit for. And obviously, the game, I believe, is after the FA Cup final. So there's no, you're not resting players ahead of it. It's recovery after it. Saliba and Bradley 2nd and 3rd. Yeah, I must say, I'm dubious of the Arsenal defence now, even myself. I've been banging on about them in recent game weeks, but they've not delivered, have they? Connor Bradley, Guardiola, Kivior, and Branthwaite are your other top defenders. For the final 2 game weeks then, we've got, Saliba and Kivior, top 2. I think that's largely backed up by the fact that they've got, obviously, that Southampton fixture in game week 38. Connor Bradley and Virgil van Dijk up there as well. And Guardiola and Canate rounding off the final 2 game weeks of defenders. So this is regardless of price, right, what we just showed there. But I think most of them are premium defenders, right? You might be in a position in your team. I'll be honest, though. I don't think many people are going to be spending their vital final transfers in FPL on defenders. But if you are, and you're strapped for cash on them, maybe you actually need to downgrade a defender to bring someone else in, something like that. Here are your top cheap defenders. So you got Kivior there at 4.8 million. He's expected to do quite well alongside Connor Bradley at 4.7. I do think the minutes for these 2 are pretty good. Aït-Nouri of Wolves, 5.1. Chalobah of Chelsea, who they didn't play that well against Newcastle, but Chalobah's been really good for Chelsea since he's come back into the team. You've got Howson of Bournemouth and Wan-Bissaka as your top cheap defenders for the rest of the season. Onto the midfield. Salah is number 1. I'm just going to check the score because I'm literally recording this as the Arsenal-Liverpool game is going on. So I'm just going to check the score to see how they're getting on and if he's scored yet because he's not in my team. No, they're 2-0 up and it's Gakpo and Diaz, I believe, who have scored the goals. Yeah. Salah's goalless at the moment in that game. I sold him for Haaland in game week 36, which, you can insult me for that one if you want. But he's on 7.1 expected points. Saka in 2nd on 6.4. Palmer, he's quite interesting and he's obviously a very outside captaincy shout given that he didn't perform against Newcastle. But I think that was probably restricted a little bit by the red card to Nicholas Jackson. Man United at home is obviously a good fixture and they are not prioritised in the Premier League. De Bruyne and Bumo and Martinelli are your other top midfielders. Similar to what we did for the defenders, I've got all up midfielders here for the next, well, for the rest of the season. And then I've got a view on the next screen of cheap ones, because I think, yes, you know, everyone's going to be wanting these premium players, but you might be in a position where you can't necessarily afford one. So we've got Salah number 1, Saka number 2, De Bruyne number 3, although similar to those Crystal Palace players, with a little bit more of a minutes risk, I'd say, for De Bruyne, just with his injury record. I'd be a little bit concerned about his minutes, I think, in that Bournemouth game. Cole Palmer's in 4th, Martinelli's in 5th, Brian Mbeumo is in 6th. And then for cheap midfielders, well, we've got Enzo Fernandez, 4.7 million, number 1. Minte of Brighton, or Minter of Brighton in number 2. Brunetzi, Buonanotte, Damsgaard, and Fernandez. I have realised I've filtered this below 5 million, but you get the gist, you know. And if you want to go a little bit higher, in price, you've got the likes of Martinelli and Mbeumo up there. Okay, in terms of forwards then, we've got Haaland as top. Yeah, don't want to talk too much about Haaland as someone who bought him ahead of Game Week 36 and captained him. I would, again, similar to what I said about De Bruyne, the fact that he probably played 90 minutes against Southampton, preparing for that FA Cup final. What are his minutes going to be like for that Bournemouth game? I guess only time will tell. Watkins in 2nd, Wissa. I think people who bought Wissa ahead of that Ipswich game could consider themselves pretty unlucky that he blanked in that one. I thought it was a really shrewd pick, really wise transfer in. I think you can consider yourself unlucky that you came away with 1 point from that game. Cunha in 4th against Palace. Marmoush, again, he's a similar sort of discussion point to Salah and, sorry, not Salah, Haaland and De Bruyne. You know, will he start in Game Week 37, considering there's the cup final before? Obviously, he got benched in Game Week 36. And then Isak as well with Arsenal away, who you could maybe also consider Isak a sell. You know, he has been, probably the best forward, I would say, in the game this entire season. But even he, I think, could be surplus to requirements and could be a sell. Let me know in the comments what you're going to do with Isak if you've still got him. And then for the final 2 game weeks, Haaland is number 1. Isak is number 2. Well, he's got quite a nice fixture to round off the season. Cunha in number 3. Watkins in 4th. Wissa and Marmoush are your top 6 strikers for the run-in for the rest of the season. Let me know in the comments who your front line is going to be for Game Week 37 and beyond. I thought it'd be worth just looking at captaincy as well. I know, just in general, I know this expected points data is a bit of a mixed bag of opinion. Some people like it, some people loathe it. It's quite nice to make a video about it for those that like it. If you don't, you don't have to watch the video. But here are a couple of sources of expected points data that I like to use. I would suggest just looking at Salah's FPL review expected points, that might be boosted a little bit by how well Liverpool are playing right now against Arsenal. But he is number 1 on Fantasy Football Hub. Haaland number 2, Saka number 3, Palmer number 4, and De Bruyne number 5. The order is quite, well, the players are quite similar on the FPL review expected points, but the order is slightly different. And it's got the inclusion of Brian Mbeumo. He's top on 6, joint with Palmer. Palmer's obviously got that Man United fixture, which I think is quite strong for Chelsea and obviously him. Saka and Salah both on 5.8 and Haaland on 5.7. All right, so I showed this on my buy and avoid video, but I think it's also relevant for the Ultimate Guide video because it's clean sheet odds, and I said I'd talk about clean sheet odds. What we've got here is some data from Rob T FPL. So what Rob T FPL does, he's one of the best FPL accounts to follow on X, by the way. He takes data from gambling companies and manipulates it in a way that is useful for FPL. And what we've got here is bookies odds related to clean sheet odds. And I think I always say this, you can have mixed opinions on gambling. That's totally cool. Not really a gambler myself. But what you can appreciate is how much money and investment gambling companies put into predicting the outcome of football games. And why would you not use that kind of data to support your FPL decisions? So we've got clean sheet odds here. They are in an order for Game Week 36 to 38, but I've had to blank out Game Week 36. Obviously, that's going on at the moment. Teams, I guess, of note is that Arsenal fixture against Southampton in Game Week 38. Liverpool against Palace in 38. Newcastle and Bournemouth both with good fixtures in 38 as well. Villa have got Tottenham, who have rested 9 players, I think, in their game in Game Week 36 against Crystal Palace. And then Man United to finish off the season. So the Villa defence could be looking pretty good. Other side of the coin, well, these are slightly lower odds, but we've got Everton against Southampton in 37. Crystal Palace against Wolves in 37. I'd suggest both of those odds are pretty good for clean sheets, although Wolves are pretty good from an attacking perspective, of course. And then West Ham have Ipswich in Game Week 38 as well. That might be a fixture to know. I'm just going to switch back to see if there are any other teams or fixtures worth looking at. Possibly Chelsea against Man United at home in Game Week 37 as well. I think there's a potential clean sheet there. And there might be something for Forest against West Ham, although they have fallen off a little bit defensively, to be fair. All right, well, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. Like I said, you know, the community seems to have a mixed bag of opinions around expected points. I quite like using it as one sort of metric that I use in order to make decisions in FPL. It's not the be all or end all. I think, you know, the whole point of FPL is to take data from multiple sources in order to make decisions. And I think this is one of them. So hopefully you found the video useful. If you did, please leave me a like rating and let me know in the comments. I think I asked who your front line is going to be. Just in general, what your transfer plans are going into Gameweek 37 and who your captain is likely to be. If you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the Golden Goal channel. It's been a fantastic season. I just want to thank everyone for all their support. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself in the summer, to be honest, but that's my problem to deal with. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.